had gone through some stuff in life where I lost some people and stuff. Running was a way to connect with that or connect through that and just like appreciate being able to move. I went to New York and I knew no one. Someone that I met in Berlin would tell them I'm in town, and I'd have somewhere to stay for a week and show me around and where to run, where to eat, where to party. I think if we can make like a deep impact on 30 people and they can affect more people with like a mindset, they have children, hopefully the impact in the next many years will be big. I think you can just through the space and through this interaction, like this really powerful conversation I overheard of friends that would never have been friends can now discuss topics that would never have been discussed. It's amazing to create that space.
Welcome back to 5 Miles Easy. Today we're diving into a conversation all about running, community and breaking down barriers. This was recorded while I was still out in South Africa, and as Steph had headed home, I was joined by one of South Africa's top ultra runners, Carla Molinaro, who has also been on this pod as a guest, but today was co-hosting with me. Together, we're chatting with Paul Ward, the visionary behind the running crew, the 9-4, which is absolutely legendary in Cape Town.
Paul founded the 9-4 at a time where it was simply unthinkable for people of different skin colours to run, party, or simply be together. His mission was to create a space where a diverse group of individuals who had never met previously could unite. With just 30 members, this crew not only runs together, but gather at their unique clubhouse, the Burrow, in the heart of Cape Town.
Paul's journey is as much about his own love for running as it is about building a community where everyone can belong. In a country where the legacy of apartheid once dictated who could join certain social circles, Paul's vision has transformed the running community into a vision of unity and inclusion. Today's conversation goes far beyond just running. It's about community, building a powerful brand, and the transformative power of running.
Rose, I'm so excited to hear this conversation because I'd heard of the 9-4 just being in Cape Town, but I've never seen what they do or been a part of it. But I know you got to join one of their run clubs. So can you tell us about it?
It was so much fun. I have to say, it really, like when I got into running, there weren't that many fun run groups around, but I joined a couple and I used to love them. It was such a good way to meet people, and it's been incredible just seeing this like social running scene grow over the last few years. I mean, here in London there are so many like fun running groups, running crews. The 9-4 very much define themselves as a running crew, which I learnt the difference between a running crew and a running group. Apparently there is. I mean, I think a running crew is just cooler.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. So I think running club might be seen as more boring.
Yeah.
They're more of a party run club.
And the 9-4 are very cool.
Yeah.
They are very cool.
Well, I have seen their cheer zone. So when I did Two Oceans last year, they had a huge cheer zone. It was deafening, like in the final mile or something. So yeah, you can tell they have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can so imagine that. And the run was really fun, really high energy, but like the party afterwards was really good. And they definitely just have this amazing energy, like friendly vibe, and it is so inclusive. It's just they bring anyone in, and you can really see that. I mean, there's only 30 of them in the kind of main group, and this evening that I went to, they open up the club every month to a big community run. So there are about 200 people there the night I went, but the kind of core group are all really different. And I think the thing that struck me speaking to Paul was obviously there's a legacy of apartheid that really was the fuel to build this community. But I think it's a message that actually applies to so many different cultures, because naturally we just find ourselves in our own little bubbles.
Yeah.
And it's just such like a thing of the human condition to gravitate towards people like you. Mm-hmm. And Paul's whole mission is to really go against that and bring together people who just wouldn't normally connect.
Yeah, I think that's so incredible, especially with the history in South Africa. Like, what a cool concept and what a change he's made.
He really has. And you can just tell, the people that he's brought into this 9-4 group, it really has changed their lives for the better. It's amazing to see.
I love that so much, and I can't wait to listen.
Paul, thanks so much for joining us for 5 Miles Easy. Slightly special edition today because co-hosting with Carla here, who, as I'm sure lots of our listeners will know, has been on the pod twice.
Yes.
Before as a guest. So great to have you both here. Paul, the first question we ask all our guests is, what is your why for running?
Yeah, that's quite a complicated question maybe for me, or maybe there's like two facets to it. I think there is like a personal, very deeply personal why, and I think especially when I started running yeah, it was for, I did a lot of like charity runs and it was all about like running for people who can't. And I had like gone through some stuff in life where I lost some people and stuff, and it was like running was a way to like sort of connect with that or connect through that and just like appreciate being able to move and stuff. Being someone who's not good at running or professional at running. But I think now running has also become, that's also got even maybe more deeper as life has gone on. But also I think like the running or my community aspect of running and I think how running can connect people, and especially in South Africa with like the easiest, like there's the least barrier to entry versus any other like, I don't know, other sports, maybe besides football. But yeah, I think I think the result of running and what running can do to not just me but to the people around me collectively is probably why I've kept on running through like quite a long time now for someone who's not like a serious runner. So over a decade to be doing it, I think maybe when my personal why has gone up and down, the collective why has been really the strongest throughout. And just how I've seen how it's not affected just me but everyone around me, and how there's a very powerful force of when people are connected through running. I think that's been my main consistent why over the years.
Is that kind of how, I mean, we'll get into a bit about the specific community you've built, but do you think your personal why of, getting you through tough times and perhaps feeling connected to those people that you lost then led you to that desire to build the community so you can kind of show people how they can get that from running? Were those two things connected?
Yeah, I think running was really unexpected for me. Like, it was never anything I was like attracted to or drawn to like growing up. And then it sort of, came into my life, and I just saw the positive impact it had on me, and realized that could be, I think there's maybe a lot of people similarly to me who like had never been introduced to running and they never had felt the positive effect it can have on all aspects of your life, I think. So then, passing that on, so to speak, or creating a way for people to experience that and take it on for themselves definitely became a important aspect. I don't know if that answered the question, but
No, definitely. I feel like these kind of run crews that have come up so many people do kind of go into it thinking, so many people say, I didn't think I was a runner, and then it's through these kind of casual community run clubs that they discover running, rather than the other way around of like getting into running then go and joining a club, which I think for us was like the way that it used to happen. I mean, so I think certainly when I joined, I was like, I need to get good at running so I can go and join a running club. And now it actually seems to be the other way around. It's like people join these community runs to get into running.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
The social aspect is the draw firstly, and then the exercise comes on. But I mean, for me, also, it was a long time ago where, running was quite different, social running was very different like 12 years ago, and for me it just introduced me to like a whole world of people that I never had met, because it actually started for me overseas more, and so I met when I was traveling, and I met these people that were running, and it just like they were so opening and welcoming, and I just like was thrown into this community, especially back then when it was quite small or niche, like the sort of crew running thing that everyone knew everyone. Like I knew everyone in all the European cities, well, not everyone, but I knew like the leaders of all the crews, and if I went to any city I had like a bed to stay, and I had like friends everywhere just by association of this run crew thing. Obviously now it's very different because it's so big, and it's like you can't be so connected when it's so big, but back then it was very intimate. If I went to New York and I knew no one, someone that I met in Berlin would tell them I'm in town, and I would have somewhere to stay for a week and show me around and where to run, where to eat, where to party. So it was like, back then it was a very, and still those people are my really close friends. So it was a very like, it was small community but global as well. There was like this connected mindset that just, was really special back then, and now it has obviously changed. But this, I think that's still, that core community thing is what's made it so big over the last decade or so.
How did you get into it?
I was a photographer and I was in Berlin, and marketing boss, I guess, in the company I was working for, asked me to take like some photos of his running club, and he was like a very fashion cool guy, and I was like never really associated that with running. I was very like confused, like why would he be involved with running? It was like back then it didn't make sense. Obviously now it does make sense, but and then I said cool, I'll go, and then it took me to like his clubhouse in like Mitte in Berlin, and I met like all these interesting people who were running, and they didn't look like the South African like runners that were like doing well in races, or just they just felt like interesting people that were like interested in other things that I was interested in terms of the same music and the same culture. But then they were also running, and I could see like this positive effect, and it wasn't like they weren't sacrificing like the fun part of life, the party. I was in my early 20s, and partying and that stuff was quite important, and they weren't not doing that, but they were running as well. It was like they were doing both, and it was like this balanced lifestyle. And and then I came back to South Africa, and there was like nothing like it here. There was a lot of running, tons of running, but it was like the club running, very specific, very niche in some ways, not very open to, or at least from the outside, didn't feel very welcoming to someone that didn't fit into that world. So then we like started our own little thing with my friends who I was like partying with, and we started running. But it all started with that connection overseas, and just seeing like how you can start running with with anyone, and how it can have a positive effect. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to like be going for times or goals. For us, it was never about that. I would maybe have a race like every few months to like train towards and focus towards, and have a party afterwards. But it was more just about hanging out and I guess balancing life. And I really liked the idea that we were connecting a lot with people at night and nightlife stuff, but then it's only a certain level you get to, and then in the daytime and running, it felt like the connection was much more meaningful and much deeper, and it was the same people, but now we're starting to like properly connect, I would say, like make proper bonds, and I think running was a huge part of that.
I think that's what like the running club and crews, how they kind of differ. Like the running club system is you go on Tuesday and Thursday, 6 a.m. or 6 p.m, you go do your session, you have a little chat after, you disappear until you see everyone the next week, where I feel like the running crews are a little bit more like your friends. So you'll go into these runs, but then you're staying longer and you're dancing with them into the evenings, and you're organising trips to go away with on the weekends. And I think that's what's really cool about these crews that have started to come out with. It's developing those friendships that you make in those running clubs and taking them a little bit further, which some people might not get, or something that they're looking for, especially when they're going to a new city. So it's always nice to like find the local running crew, because it's like your way into actually making friendships and doing things outside of your running circle as well.
Yeah, totally. I think you've nailed it there with like the difference between a club and a crew. And I think there's so many different formats of it now. It gets like a little bit blurry, but fundamentally I think it is. I think it's great that running has become so big, and you can go to any city and you can like drop into a run. But for us, it's been really important to like keep that intimacy and the power of like the small crew, and that that's more than just that running moment. We get quite a lot of flack, or we used to at least, for being quite like small and tight. But for us, for me, that was always the power was in like real deep connections with few, and hopefully that inspires more. But I just didn't think we had like the energy to create those deep connections with masses. But if we can do it with a few, it can probably inspire more. And I think that's always what's drawn us to like the real making like family deep connections. I think that's like with the 9-4, it's like if anything goes wrong, or if your car breaks down, it's like you can just like you can WhatsApp that group, and it's like those people are going to show up for you. It's like, and we all have our own friendship circles, but there's like a real trust and a reliability, and like with the running crew circle of friends.
Yeah, that's so cool. Can you just, for anyone who doesn't know, if someone has no idea what the 9-4 is, how would you describe it?
It's a running crew, not a running club. I mean, I guess we always say like a running family, but we're a really small collective of, I would say, unique and interesting humans who don't really make sense together. I think that's always been something like really important for us, is that it's not like a one size fits all. Like I think especially in Cape Town, there's a lot of like niches and a lot of cliques, and it's like also something negative with Cape Town. But even in the running club culture, there's like each crew will maybe have like a distinctive archetypal person that joins it, and that's cool, that's great. But we always wanted to bring in like unique different people together that wouldn't make sense together, different cultures, different religions, different fitness levels, different ages, like all these things that like sort of test each other and like don't make sense together and make you uncomfortable but make you grow. So yeah, even when we were like early on just sort of inviting people or allowing people to join, it was always like, I don't want you and your friends to come. It's like one person comes from one aspect of life and then another person, and then together it's like you have this weird collections of humans who then become tight through running, and it just creates something very dynamic. So yeah, a very intimate group of interesting humans who push each other through running and hopefully become better people through running is how I would describe the 9-4. Not better runners, but better humans.
Yeah, that's so cool. And as you mentioned earlier, you don't just run together, right? You kind of do loads of things. I mean, I saw your Clubhouse, the Borough, yesterday, and you've got a space for working and kind of hanging out, and it is a lot more than just like running together. Yeah,
totally. I think that's always been our thing. I think also like experiencing new things together, like especially earlier on, like traveling was because like if you're on tour with someone, it's like you really get to know someone.
Yeah.
You know, you're like sharing a bed, sharing a bathroom, sharing a train, all these things where you really unite you. It's much more expensive now than it was like 10 years ago. So traveling became like less of a thing. We used to go to like Berlin once a year, but now I think it is the borough became a huge part of our ecosystem. Again, it was like we were finding like we're running a lot, but then you always had to like spend money to hang out afterwards. So if we could create a space where you didn't have to spend money, you could just hang out, that would allow everyone to stay there longer, like rather than going for dinner somewhere, which can be a barrier to entry to some people who can't afford it, especially when you're like a student or something and you don't. So then some people wouldn't be there as much, but when we had the borough, you can just be there in the space, everyone can hang out. So it was like, that was the initial idea of the borough. Like I wanted a space where like we could hang out afterwards and didn't have to worry about anything. And then it's become much more than that. Now it's become like exactly that people work from there, we party from there, it's also grown, it's much bigger than it ever thought, but like this hub, and I think it's consistently work in progress, the borough. It's adapting, and like we have art exhibitions there, like we've had a whole lot of random things. We had in the old borough, we had like a gaming expo once, like computer guys one guy was part of our crew, and he could explore his thing through the borough. So it's like anyone that's part of the 9-4 can use the borough, or can approach us with ideas of how to transform the space for whatever they want to do. So it's community space.
It's basically the coolest crew in Cape Town.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, it's like you see them out running and you're like, the 9-4 are so cool. Then they also have, like, Paul's underselling it a bit, like the best parties after races. They're like insane. End of year parties, post race parties are so much fun, where you can get tooth gems and tattoos.
Amazing.
And then their cheer zones, like these guys, the vibe that they bring to races, you will run through it and just get goosebumps. And I think that's what's insane about them as well. Like I get so excited in a race when I know I'm going to be running through the 9-4 cheer zone, because it's like nothing you've ever experienced.
Oh,
it's mental.
So cool.
So like you have to come back and do a Cape Town race just to
Yes,
experience
100%.
that.
Yeah, we're not very fast, but we do compensate on the
Shout
extramural
loud.
activities. Yeah, exactly. I think, Carla, you said your heart rate raised at one cheerpoint once or something.
Oh my God, I ran through the cheer zone at Cape Town Marathon and got so excited. And then I was running with my friend Chris, and once we got to the other side, we were like, oh my fucking God. Like we had gone like 30 seconds per K quicker just because we were so excited. And it took us about a K to like get our heart rate settled again.
You just need to be you need to just spread yourselves out across the whole course, and then there'll be PBs for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the cheerpoint's definitely something that also just like keeps you going. If you're just knowing it's around it makes that's sort of like the first finish line. Just get to the cheerpoint, because then you know if you can get to the cheerpoint, it should get you the energy you get from that should carry you to the end. I think we've been really inspired also like the crews overseas originally that were also doing these things, and we just sort of put our own spin on it. I mean, the Berlin guys also know how to party pretty well. Like the Berlin Braves, the Berlin running crews, like our brother crew, that's where I got inspired by, and we become really good friends. And they throw crazy parties, but theirs are like started midnight and ended like 5 a.m. Where Cape Town's not really that vibe. Ours started 5 p.m. and ends at midnight, but it's like more summer. Yeah, it's like summer vibes. We're outdoors. There's all winter vibes. It's like, yeah, we put our own spin on it. But yeah, we definitely try to flex in certain ways.
And I guess for anyone doing, like, if you're from the UK, doing London Marathon, it's very similar to the Rundem Crew 21-mile point. It's that kind of vibe and hype that these guys are doing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they do cheer zones very well as well.
Yeah.
The Rundem Crew guys were one of the OGs of like those. And I said like there were a few crews at the beginning. Charlie and Rundem Crew were instrumental in inspiring us and learning from them. You know, they were a few years ahead of us, and we'd have like, I remember once there was like a Amsterdam, I think it was just a 10K, but it ended up being like all the crew captains were there. I mean, like 10 crew captains from around the world, but that felt like everyone, and it was like Charlie from Rundem, Edson from Pata, Mike from Bridge Runners in New York, Joey from Berlin. We all just had like, I think Edson just took us out for lunch. We just had like this dinner conversation or lunch conversation, but like learning and just passing on like, how do you develop community? How do you, like, what are the struggles, you know, of like keeping people together? And it was like instrumental in learning. We were like very, very small then, but they were a few years ahead of us, so we learned from their growths, and became instrumental in our growth.
How do you do that? Build a community that, because I think for, you know, even just outside of running, like building a community like you have is so powerful. I mean, for brands, like the value in that would be huge. So how do you build such a core? You've only got 30 people as well. 30, right?
Yeah, roughly, yeah.
And yet, basically, the whole of Cape Town knows about you as this really cool running crew.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there is like a secret to it, or like how do you do it? I think it's a lot of work and a lot of energy and like a lot of commitment from the leaders, but also from everyone. And that's sort of like there's no like fee or buy-in to the 9-4, but it's just buy-in with your time and your energy. And like we want people that are like committed to give to the community. That's like, you have to give back in whatever way, whether it's making jokes, you know, keeping people the temp up, or whether if you're good organizing, like you have to be. It's like it's an exchange. Like I think everyone plays an important role. It's not like a one-way exchange. It's a two-way exchange. So you have to give to the community to receive, and I think that's what keeps it strong. I think keeping it small, like the 30 is like quite big. We're probably even bigger than 30 now, and it's the biggest we've ever been. But we're growing slowly. At the beginning, I was like 20 people, no more than 20, because that's. If you think of like really close friends, 20 is a lot. How do you keep track of like 20 people and like stay connected to them and knowing if they're going through a tough time, knowing what's going on in their life? That's already a lot. So now we're growing, but slowly, like allowing a few extra people every year. So it like get strong as a community, then add more and get strong. Not just like, because we could easily become like 100 overnight if we wanted to, but we would lose. Then I think we would lose. It would become a different type of community, I think, because I see the value in the bigger communities, but they're very different, and I'm not sure of the longevity of those. I wouldn't be able to say, but I can say I think we've built like a really strong foundation that I could see as for the community of a proper base, and brands can, I guess, see that it's when like running might change, like out of trends and into trends. I think we're going to be around. I think running is hyped at the moment, or community running is hyped at the moment. Maybe it won't be like that in 5 years. I'm hoping we've been around for 11 years and we'll be around for a lot longer based on the solid foundations, I guess, rather than trying to expand.
Did you find it took a little bit of time to get from people just coming along and joining the runs to actually, like what you said, like adding value back in and kind of finding their role within the crew? Did that take a little bit of time to kind of harness with everyone?
I think at the beginning, when we were small, it was quite easy because we were like, you know, when we were like 10 people or whatever for like the first year or two, and then because running wasn't a thing. We weren't even like, it wasn't even a WhatsApp group, but it wasn't like what it is now. But I think it's when you start adding people and then like trying to understand when people join now, and like, are they there for the right reasons? Are they there for the association, or are they there to add value? And there's certainly have been people that have joined and not added value, or not, just doesn't mean they haven't wanted that, so they fall away, you know. And we try not to limit that. So like quite a long sort of be friends of the crew for a while before you become a crew member, solidified. And only really once you start, contributing to the community in whatever way it is. Like I say, it can just be like banter on a WhatsApp group. That's really important to keep like spirits high. It's not like, you certainly don't have to be a fast runner. You don't have to be like anything like that. But your personality has to add to the collective energy. And I think only once that's been like solidified, maybe do you get like officially added to the WhatsApp group. And then you're like, hopefully you don't leave for a long time.
What do you do if someone joins and they are not contributing? Or you just realise they're not like, not your person, not the person for the crew?
Yeah, I think because we have such a slow like integration system, sort of, it really, really, very rarely happens. Maybe like twice that someone has like, we felt like they're a really great fit, and then we've realised it hasn't. And I think it's a mutual thing, because we demand a lot. Like I demand a lot from you. If you're not there regularly, if you're not you're not running, if you're not at cheer zone, and you weren't running, like for me that's like, you have to be there to support the others that are there. And if you're not, it's like, and it shouldn't be me asking to be there or the crew. You should have an internal want to be there to support others and stuff. So there's quickly things like when you feel like you're asking people to do stuff where they should be wanting to do it. It should be exciting to wake up at 6 a.m. and go set up flags and support your fellow runners who've like been training for 12 weeks, even if it's not you. And so if people aren't feeling that, and if they're feeling like they're having to do certain things rather than wanting to, then I think it's a mutual. But we haven't had many experiences like that because we have quite a slow integration system. I think we have one member who joined last year, Kronier, who I think was a member for a year, but I didn't even fully know it because he was like at every run and stuff, but I was traveling a lot and not knowing. And then when he finally became, it felt like he was already a member for so long, he just hadn't been added to the group, but he was already like at every run, at everything. It was like there were people at parties like putting up signs, add Grenier, like I was seeing on Instagram. I was like, it became like quite a thing. But now he's very
he did his
solidified. Yeah. So once you're in, you're in. I think that's why people call us a cult as well. It's quite like, once you're in, you're hopefully in. And most people have been around the 9-4 for like upwards of 5-6 years, which of our 10-11 years, I mean, it's quite a long, I think we have a long commitment. There's not many people that have only come for a year or two. It's quite, if you think how much you change as a human being over 10 years or 6-7 years, it's like you have kids, your life changes, but if the crew can be constant, it must mean something,
I feel like anyone listening to this who like has a company or a brand or a community is just going to be like, right, how do I do this? Because that is so valuable.
Yeah.
To have that dedication and people who just genuinely, you're not paying these people to be there. It's they genuinely want to do it, and it has become this family, and everyone gives so much. It is really cool. Yeah,
and I think it is really, really special. And sometimes we forget it, but when new people come, they somehow remind us. You're just reminded of how unique it is. And I think also we are lucky with the support we've had from also like brands and external people that have like seen the value in us. Obviously like Puma and stuff. They've really we've had such support from people to allow us to do what we want to do and to, just keep doing it, because you do need external support to like create these foundations. So I think longevity internally, but also with our external partners that have really like elevated us and just allowed us to be who we are and celebrate the way we're approaching this running thing. It's been really special. So.
We're the co-founders of Boldly, a movement created to make running safer, stronger, and more connected, especially when it gets dark.
Did you know that 72% of women change how or when they exercise during winter due to safety concerns?
All three of us know what it's like to avoid dark routes, cut runs short, or skip runs altogether because we don't feel safe at this time of year.
Boldly is here to change that. From social runs to useful tools, Boldly is here to connect runners, make running safer all year round, and reclaim spaces that we lose.
Join us every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. for our weekly social run in Putney, and all paces are welcome, so no one gets left behind.
And for even more connection, join our WhatsApp community. It's a space to chat, share tips, and meet more like-minded runners.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Boldly Run for details.
And sign up to boldlyrun.com for updates on our app, which is launching soon.
Because together we can run safely.
Together, we run boldly.
What did you think of the 9-4 when you first heard of it? Honest review.
No, I thought it was awesome. Like,
Nice.
I can't remember like the first thing. I think the very first thing that I did was the ladies' night. So they did a thing in the winter, which I believe you guys are doing again this year. So for the 3 months of the winter, the darkest nights, they invited any ladies that wanted to come along to come and run safely in Cape Town with a group of other women. And then towards the end, I did a Q&A with a couple of the other girls for everyone that had been on this programme. And at the end of it, they all did a race together, which was pretty cool. So that was kind of like my first kind of insight into it, and then started to invite myself to parties and cheer zones, and it spiraled from there. But I think, I think something that's nice about not just the 9-4, but all running clubs and crews is that you also have that level of accountability. And I think that, where you're saying like, what's the value for like businesses, and it's that accountability that you want with your friends and your mates, that you're showing up and going along to these things and seeing the same people, like their core crew who are there all the time, looking so cool in their pink Oakleys and running kit. Although it's really confusing because you went through a stage where like everyone was in black kit, and then at the last party I went to, they were in like pink sports bras. I was like, oh, what's happening here? I'm here for it. So it's always nice to see. I think with you guys, like, fashion's really important, and I think it's really nice that fashion, and not just like wearing like your old school Ron Hills, but like being cool and expressing yourself with like cool nail polish and tattoos and makeup, and is something that's really fun. And at their like the parties and the cheer zones, you really get to see that aspect of everyone else in that, like giving their own flair to something, which is quite cool.
Again, very much along the theme of just making running cool.
Yeah.
Like, running didn't used to be cool, right? And now I think it is. Like, running fashion is becoming so much more of a thing. Yeah. And, I'm here for it.
I think running is really hard for, especially people that aren't good at running. It's, like, really tough. So to distract yourselves and to have all these other things like fashion and your race nails, your race makeup, your race, all those things that, like, give you, like, armor and give you, like, power to achieve these hard things. I mean, I think even... fashion is like superficial to some degree, but like one of the ladies' nights, ladies, when they first became like 9-4 member, and they put on top, it like they said it like felt like armor, like when they wear it, like gave them the sense of power. And I think it's like also uniform being connected to a crew. And so I think the fashion side plays on one level, it's fun and it's like look cool, and another level it's like quite empowering and like gives you strength to do hard things, which most of our runners aren't good at running, or running's not easy for them, and they're trying to it's like constantly pushing. It's not like racing snakes that just float, but then you create an environment that just combats that and makes it possible and makes it so. I think fashion is a double-sided thing. It's one thing, it's just look cool, fucking cool, and to the brand, but internally it's quite like a powerful thing. Even the pink sports bras, like all of a sudden I think even those, they weren't sure about them, the girls, when they first came around, and then one girl like rocked them, and then everyone was like, fuck it, let's do it. And then there was like this army of pink sports bras like owning it, and they looked like powerful, but I think they also felt powerful, and that was like, so there's something special in that.
I love that. Do you ever think about kind of how you're influencing the younger generation? I was just thinking about, like, there's a real struggle, particularly with getting girls into sport at a young age, and then as soon as they hit teenage years, there's a huge dropout rate. And I think a lot of it is to do with image, right? It's like, you look sweaty, don't look your best when you're running, you've got a red face, and girls when they're teenagers don't like it, so stop sport. But do you ever think about how you're kind of impacting that and changing the image of running, making it this cool thing?
Yeah, I think originally that was like a big thing for us, was to people that never identified with fitness or sport. It was never really gender specific, but more just, and I think, and to be honest, we didn't have a strong female presence at the start. The first few years, it was very male dominant, but it was also, similarly, it was getting people that had never done sport at school, never felt cool or confident doing sport, and like showing that if you repackage running in a way, it can be cool. And then also the positive internal stuff that happens when you start running. But I think, in the last 5 years, especially with Ladies Night, I think became much more, we started as like like Carla said, like a safe space thing, especially with like load shedding and winter, and it was like really dark at night. But like hearing the stories that have come through of girls that have never even identified, like, maybe some girls start sport and then drop out, but some girls never ever identify with sport or fitness when they're young. And I think it's pretty hard if you don't spend the first 20 years not doing it to to get through that psychological barrier, and allowing that space and seeing some of the Ladies' Night stories of these girls that have almost reborn their identity once they understood that they can run and they can be a part of it and they can be sweaty and they can it's like been definitely some of the most empowering messages we've heard. I think it was more of a byproduct versus a conscious thing in terms of we wanted to create a safe space, and through that we just saw crazy development in girls. And I think now we have a very strong female presence in the 9-4, and it all came through just creating the space and the girls just taking it and running with it, excusing the pun. But I think our girls are our female contingent on the 9-4 the most powerful at the moment and the most inspirational, and to think that maybe some of them would never have had this as part of their life is quite crazy, because now they're powerhouses and leaders, and take from the running to every part of the 9-4, they lead the way. It's really the guys have got some catching up to do now.
And what's really nice about all the girls as well in the 9-4, like everyone looks so different. It's not like, I think sometimes like if you've gone through the club running system, like there's a certain look of what you look like as an athlete, but with the 9-4 you've got like thin, fat, tall, short, black, white, like it's everything. And it is, you're just like, oh cool, and they're all wearing the same uniform but they all look amazing. And I think that's what's really nice. Sometimes you think, oh, but I look like that kind of shape, I can't wear that. And then when you see a girl that's similar to you actually rocking a crop top and short shorts, split shorts, you're like, oh, maybe I can. And I think that's what's really nice, is that you have got, and it's probably by accident, but like a massive mix, even with the guys as well. Like all of the guys as well are very different in how they look, but they wear their short shorts and they go running. And I think that's nice for people looking in and getting confidence from that, because sometimes you actually need to see someone that looks a little bit different, like pushing, like where you think, oh God, if they can run without a t-shirt on, so can I.
That's
you
such
feel
a good
cool.
point. Yeah.
I feel cool when, like, if I'm having a really hard session, I take my t-shirt off and run in a crop top, because I feel then like I'm a badass.
Yeah, I totally get you though. I do it as well.
Yeah.
Sessions, always in a crop top.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is, but I just feel like I mean business.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I think the eclecticness of the 9-4 is probably the thing I'm the most proud of.
Yeah.
Like and it's, and it wasn't by mistake at the beginning, but now it's just, there's uniqueness, and girls and guys, and how they, super eclectic, but they allow their personalities, individuality to shine within this quite a strong aesthetic of the 9-4, but then with all these individuals within it, it's like, it's a unique bit of energy that all like comes together. But I think, Carla, also you with your like eye makeup for races and stuff, it's like, you also probably quite a outlier in the, like, I don't know, at least from outside in the elite running space. Like, you a weapon, but you're also a human and have got cool style, and you talk about cake as much as you're running, and it's like you are a human being, not just a elite athlete. And I think that's also like, something we connect with Carla a lot and is inspiring by, like, just allowing your humanity to come through as well as being a runner. It's like having those two things. You don't have to lose one to for the other to shine.
And I love that, like, for a race, like, I do that. Like, I want to look good because they're, like, look good, feel good, run fast. And I'm like, I want
I love that.
to cover myself in glitter and do my hair, and I always get my nails done the week before because then I feel pretty and I feel good. And then when you're, you know, there was one race when I, like, glanced down and I was really struggling, but then I could just see all this glitter on my arms and I was like, I look like a unicorn's been sick on me, but I feel good. And I think if you, you know, going into a race, there's something about that. If you can, you know, it's like ironing your shirt to go to work. It kind of feels like that. It's like I'm putting my, like you said, it's like you've got your armour on and then you're ready to, like, race hard, which is part of the fun.
Yeah. And it's that, like, getting your body ready for it and for the performance. And it's also fun, right? Yeah. It's just adding an element of fun. But I think your point is such a good one around, you know, bringing, like, the other elements to your life to the forefront as well, and not just being, you know, a runner. Because I think, especially with social media, people go on it and right, okay, well, all this person does is run. And that's like, if you're a runner, that's what a runner is. Whereas, to your point, and also, what you do so well on social media is, like, obviously you're an amazing runner, professional, it's your job, but, like, you still have a life. You know, you still have loads of other things going on. And I think with a lot of people, like, I'm definitely guilty of it. I think my thing is, like, I don't think anyone's interested in the other things that go on. I'm like, well, it seems quite boring, everything else I do. Went for brunch, it was great.
Just think that you're doing it for your mum to give her your updates. That's what I do. And then if you haven't done something for 2 days, she's like, are you all right?
Yeah, it's a great point. I'm really interested as to why. So you've got this group of people, and you said it's really important that everyone's so different. Where did that come from? Where did that, like, desire to, in particular, bring together a crew that are really different, that wouldn't necessarily all go together and perhaps make friends organically?
It was just born from inherent, maybe, problem in Cape Town, is that Cape Town is quite, like, cliquey, and you can go your whole life living in, like, a bubble of one type of person. And I mean, obviously that comes from, like, a deep and dark South African history, you know, pre our life, but still we living through it, you know, where just by where you live, you might live in an area where you only have, like, one type of person living there, and that's just how Cape Town is still growing out of, like, 30 years of post-apartheid. We're still, like, you know, coming through. But 10 years ago I was like, how do we get everyone running together? That was always, like, the goal. And if we're only gonna have a small amount of people, it means, like, each person has to be quite different to maybe represent, like, bring something new. I mean, even, like, on name, which everyone often asks us, like, why are we the 9-4, and we don't really talk about it, but it's 1994 is obviously when South Africa became a republic. And before these are all the things I thought about. There was, like, the Group Areas Act, where you couldn't move freely around, and all these, like, hardcore things, you know, which, like, restricted movement, restricted different groups interacting. And I think for me in Cape Town had a strong running community before us in terms of, but it was like, maybe you'd have a Muslim running club, you'd have all these, like, great strong communities, but it was hard to, like, a very diverse integrated one. So that was always the goal. I felt like what we needed is Cape Town was, or at least what I also wanted to be connected with different people, because otherwise, I mean, I grew up in the southern suburbs. There's some people that, like, just live there the whole life. You go to school there, you go to university there, you work there, and it's, like, strong, beautiful, powerful life. But I just wanted, like, more and more diversity and more integration. So that's what my goal was with the 9-4, is, like, how can we bring diversity together. And it's it's been really, really powerful. I mean, we've had some really powerful interactions between people that have been maybe crew members for so long, and then, you know, you find yourself first time in your life maybe as, like, there was one situation, it was, like, quite a religious person in the crew, and there was a gay male, and only after 3 years of being friends they had, like, this conversation of, like, be able to, because probably his first ever gay friend, and he didn't know, like, he wanted to know more about it, but he never ever interacted. And just through the space and through this interaction, like, this really powerful conversation I overheard of, like, friends that would never have been friends can now discuss topics that would never have been discussed, like obviously completely separate to running, but it's like, it's amazing to create that space of humans that would never have been in a safe enough space to talk about like some hard or uncomfortable or strange subjects to a normal thing. So yeah, I don't know, it's always been a goal, and now it's just, it happens naturally. Just like I guess we attract all sorts of different people, but yeah, I think it's important for Cape Town, and maybe other cities don't need it like that, but for us it was something that we needed.
I think, I mean, obviously Cape Town's an extreme example. I mean, it's just nuts that like 30 years ago it would have been illegal for you to run together, which is like, that's in our lifetime. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that traumatic past is something we have to actively work on in like changing those. Although now it's legal, it's just like
It's
people
gonna
live
take so
far
long
away.
to-
People just to get into even like town is like not accessible for a lot of people. But yeah, same why we have the boroughs. Like then you can, the more accessible space and all these things. I think it's really small, it's 30 people, but I think if we can make like a deep impact on 30 people and they can affect more people with like a mindset, they have children, that then like hopefully the impact in the next many years will be big. I think you can only do, I think if you just affect your closest circumstance, then hopefully it spreads. But Cape Town definitely has a lot of healing and a lot of growing. I mean, it's the most beautiful city in the world, I would say. I mean, I travel a lot and tell everyone to come here. I think Time Out magazine rated like the best travel place in the world, and it is. But it's also like, that's one part of Cape Town, and there's like a lot of work that still needs to be done. And I think if you're going to be in community space and you're going to be in Cape Town, then you should be dealing with those things or combating those things in whichever way you can. And that's why running, I think, is so great. Like cycling is obviously like also quite hyped or whatever at the moment, but just the barrier to entry is so great for South Africans, like, so run, like, cause people have always asked, like, we do also have cyclists and stuff, but for me as a community space, like, you just want this little barrier to entry in South Africa that people can just run. And I think that's the beauty of running,
I think it's really nice to also be able to put yourself in a situation where you're having uncomfortable conversations, or you can have an uncomfortable conversation or something with a debate with someone that is completely on the opposite end of the spectrum to where you are, but it's in a safe space. And you can like you said, like about being gay or about your religion or like any other beliefs or interests that you have. It's really nice, I think, where those crews and running groups facilitate that level of conversation, where if you did that at work, like, you could potentially get fired if you said some things that someone was like, well, you can't say that. You can do that in a crew and in that safe space without feeling like you're going to get cast out. And I think that's what's really nice about the 9-4 is you're bringing that massive eclectic mix of people, and you can kind of dip in and out of other people's cultures and like widen your views on what you think. And I think that's really important, especially like you say in Cape Town, where there are still pockets which are very closed off that we need to kind of like break open a little bit.
Yeah, it is so important. I feel like that's everywhere. Like it's not just Cape Town. It's such a human instinct to find people who are like you. And I mean, I look at my friendship group and where I live in southwest London, and it is a bubble, and it really, like, you don't realize it when you're living in it because it's kind of all but I think there's not, unless you have these really cool communities that actively bring different people together, it can actually be really hard to find yourself in those situations where you can like actually get to know people who are so different and get to know them so well that you can have those conversations. Like, it's almost like you've got to be forced together because it is so hard to find that organically, I think.
Exactly. I think it's not natural, it's not comfortable at first, so you have to create a space that gets through that uncomfortability. I mean, I think it is everywhere in the world, but I just feel, I guess, systematically Cape Town or South Africa had this problem, so we have to now we have to really constructively push against it, or at least in our way. But and I think even I think there's certain crews that don't do that, and that's totally fine, and it's still the safe space. But I think just for us, that's that was always just what we wanted, or what I wanted, and yeah, it's been cool. And it's cool now. Like now to see it like 10 years on, and like now it's not really a thing. It's just these people, and they're just like amazing and different and inspiring, and it doesn't have to be like we don't have to think about it now because it's just who we are. And like my friends are now all super interesting and different, from like what they do as careers, from like lawyers to artists to political analysts to every aspect of the 9-4. Everyone is so strange together. Like it doesn't make sense. Like it's really weird, but like when you put on your 9-4 top, you look like a team. But it's really I think there's power in celebrating the differences and coming together. So it works for us.
What are your goals for the 9-4? Where do you see it in like 10 years time?
I don't know if I have like a 10-year goal. I think since COVID was like obviously traumatic for everyone, but it also like sense of community and stuff was like closed down. You were separated from everyone. But then there was a change in my mindset about the 9-4 in terms of opening up, not just like there's always crew focused, and now since COVID it's been community focused. Crew at the center and community is like the next like bubble, and so being more actively involved in community. And I think that's probably still the trajectory for the next 10 years is like, how do we keep the crew so small but also create the community space? So last night's community run, we never used to do those like a few years ago. It's like only the last few years where it was where we started to create more and more overlap between crew and community. And I think there we will just keep pushing on that and diversifying from like running to everything we're doing. Running was at the core, but like the borough, this version of the borough is like we still got a lot of dreams for the space in terms of like activating it, and how can that really, I guess, the borough I would love in like when it's gone for people to remember it as like this pivotal like heart of Cape Town. There's been a few spaces, community spaces when I was growing up that were like integral in my development, whether it's like a club that I always used to go to or art space. And like at the time you don't really, as someone that attends it and pops in, you don't think of it as like it's a cool space, maybe not an important space, but looking back it's like those things, if those spaces didn't exist, people would never have met, and if those people never met, these things would never have happened, and like Cape Town would have not been the same. And I'm hoping that like, I don't know, in 2 decades time, that there'll be stories of people that met at the borough or through the 9-4 and have created positive change, or their lives have changed. So I think that's, creating that space. The borough is probably this version of the borough is like an evolution of the 9-4, and over the next 10 years would like for a lot of positive things to come through that space, whether it's, unexpected things. But I think that's our biggest, if we're talking about creating unique interactions of different groups, like if the borough can do that on a bigger level now than just the 30 people in the crew, that at last night's party maybe 2 people met that would never have met, and a conversation started that would never have happened. And hopefully looking back in a long time, that'll be like an important space. So that's maybe the only foreshadowing I would wish for. Maybe a bit faster running, some performance aspects. Like I think we're also working on that now, like slowly. You've been running for 10 years. There's like obviously some people get faster and have stronger goals and stuff, and like we've had more marathon runners. Like we never, like half marathon was like a push for us the first 5 years. It really wasn't about that. Now the last 2 years we've had like more than 50% of people running marathons, which is like wild for our crew.
That's so cool that they've come to you. I mean, maybe not being able to run a 5K, and now going and cracking out marathons. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a natural evolution, and especially in this like space, and just the power you get from accomplishing a marathon, no matter what time you do it in. You finish that thing. I think 1% of the world can finish or will finish a marathon in their life. So you're like 1%. You're like the top 1%. I think maybe a few more ambitious goals like that. I know there's talk of a collective comrades in the future, like crew comrades, which I don't think has ever been. I don't think it's ever been done from like crew running side, like the social running side. So it'd be interesting to see what a comrades looks like when the crew enters the chat. Maybe this is the year that I might do it.
Paul, I need to get the last 3 comrades medals, so can I do that one with the crew?
There's talk of some overseas crews coming down. I mean, if we do it, I think it'll be at least a week party afterwards. If we're going to run what K's or it's going to be a
Woof.
celebration of note. I think we wouldn't be able to have the after party that night. I think we have to have a few days rest and then the after party.
No, the next day.
Yeah.
Next day's fine.
Okay. Well, I really want to do it at some point. So tell me when you're doing this crew one, and hopefully it works out, because I'm going to need a lot of cheering to get through 90K, that's for sure.
I think the cheer squad is going to have to move with us. So I think that'd be a nice goal.
And what about your own running goals?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a serious runner at all. Although last year I had a really good running year. I ran the most kilometers and ended up running, like 3 marathons last year, which is like, also I only ran 1 before it. So things have been progressing. But I think for me it's more consistency than anything. Maybe shorter, faster things would be nice, like smaller, like that might be more of the goals than the marathons. Now, marathons are quite intense, and maybe this year I need, my goal for this year at least is like to take a break from the marathon, at least as a priority. Even if I run them, they won't be the goal. I think I want to run shorter, try to get faster at shorter runs, just as like a challenge. For me, running is always just like about pushing myself. And the first was a challenge, can you run a marathon? Did that, did a few things. Last year I had a great Berlin marathon. But this year I want to see, like, on the shorter distances, what can I get faster than? Because I think what's great about running, what I've always loved about running, is like how easy it is to like quantify it. Like your watch tells you this is the fastest you've ever run. It's like you get a PB, it's like the most powerful your body has ever been. It doesn't matter if it's slow compared to everyone else. It's still, you're the strongest you've ever been. And I think, chasing PBs is like a weird thing on some level, but I think it's a really powerful level if you think of it like that. Like, this is the fastest you've ever done, your strongest your body's ever been, the most oxygen your body's ever been able to intake, all that like weird scientific stuff. But as a human, you're like, okay, I'm strong. And I think I like that, especially as you get older, to get stronger and PBs and stuff. Last year was like the longer distances. This year I'd love to like focus on the shorter distances. And then I think, comrades, one day somehow with the crew is like something which I would never have thought about like 3 years ago, never running even a marathon before, but now it feels like
that'll be planted.
Yeah, that's like, if there's enough crew love, could be something to achieve. But for me, it's just daily, like consistency is always the key. My life's quite busy, as is most people's, but so for me personally, like being able to just run wherever I am. If I'm traveling a lot, I can just run and get out there and stay consistent. Otherwise I can just like go into work mode for months and like get separated from the reality of life. So running keeps me grounded, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all about the 9-4. I have been, since you told me about it, I was so intrigued, and it does just come across like a really cool run crew. But then last night was incredible. Like the community. I mean, how many people did you have there? Do you know?
I think it was like 115 in the group photo. That's what we counted, which is
Wow.
pretty, very big for us.
Yeah. But I felt like everyone knew each other. I mean, I know they didn't, and like there were so many people there, but I think it's just that like atmosphere that you create through the 9-4 that everyone automatically felt like they knew each other and could just chat. And I was like running along and just saw everyone just chatting with each other and having such a good time, and there wasn't any like awkward standing around and not knowing who to talk to. It was just so open. So it's an incredible community kind of concept that you've built through it, and I will certainly be coming along for a run when I'm back in Cape Town.
Yeah, please do. Whenever you're in town, you have a home, you have a space. Likewise with Carla. Carla knows. Whenever she wants an easy run, or you want a good party. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, last night was really special. Often you just reminded I was like reminded again, because there was a lot of people I'd never ever seen before last night, and just like to see that warmth and to see, especially this week, which is like it's crazy in Cape Town with all the traffic and everything. We thought no one was going to come because you want to stay away, but everyone just came out and had a good time and had to kick people out at 9 o'clock. But yeah, it's always reminded how beautiful it is. And I think, it all comes from running, which I think, I'm not a huge fan of running actually, but the physical act of running is really hard. But the more collective spiritual energy thing of running is so powerful that, it overcomes any hardships.
Any pain.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thanks for having me on. Great to chat to you. And hopefully first of many.
Our final question we ask all our guests is, what is your high five me moment? So a moment can be running related or in life where you give yourself a massive high five.
Oof. I mean, I think it is moments where, like, I step back and I look at the people around me, and I'm very, like, proud to be surrounded by these people and associated with these people. And I think if you made different decisions in life, you could not be surrounded by such inspiring people. So I think, I'll give myself a high five me moment for that. And it's off, with the 9-4, and often I just, look back at everyone else and be like, I'm lucky to spend my time on earth with these people, Carla included. And, you just like these people come into your life and be surrounded, and that's what makes it all worthwhile. So give myself a high five for that.
Yeah, that's such a good message. And I think it's just like what you're doing has really made me think about just trying to surround myself with people that I wouldn't necessarily meet ordinarily, or wouldn't necessarily like find myself in those circles. Like go and explore that. Like obviously I'm a pro runner. I don't do much with creatives, for one example, but like go and find that, because you'll have like the most interesting conversations and learn so much. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing such awesome messages.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us for 5 Miles Easy.